In this segment, we're going to look at mode number 3. So mode number 3 is our general settings mode. So we're going to enter into that, and let's go through it. So parameter number 1 will allow us to set between Celsius and Fahrenheit depending on where you are in Canada or the States and which your preference is. You can toggle between them. So it's as easy as, so the default is Fahrenheit, parameter 1. If you wanted to change that, then we go enter. So now we are in parameter 1, and the parameter that we want to change starts to flash. So then we can bring this down because 0 is Celsius. We can bring it down. Then to save that parameter, we have to press enter again, and now it's saved. And then if we want to exit the mode, we can just press the mode button once and we are out. So that parameter will have now switched from Celsius to Fahrenheit. So if we go back to information mode and enter information mode and go up, you can now see that everything is in Celsius. So let's go back just to confirm that. So let's go back to general parameters, enter to enter general parameters. Okay, again, parameter number 1 is the temperature units of measure set. So we're going to switch this back to Fahrenheit. So we enter. So now the 0 starts to flash, knowing that indicating that we can set the parameter. We're going to go up to 1. Now that's Fahrenheit. We're going to press enter to save it. And then we're going to confirm. So we're going to go back to info, enter info to, let's say, parameter, and now we are in Fahrenheit, as you can see. So let's go back in. So that's parameter 1, setting the units. Parameter number 3 is default at 45. That is the desired humidity level. So we have a humidity sensor on the Wi-Fi and the zoning models. We will be looking at the humidity on the return air side. And if the return air temperature is below, or sorry, if the humidity level is below this set point, so in this case the default is 45, then we will automatically send 24 volts out through the humidifier contact, and that will bring your humidifier on to, again, increase the humidity value. So let's say we want to set this to 50%. So enter. Now you see the parameter value flashes, and we can bring this up to 50%, for example, and then we press enter to save it at that value, and that's done. So now our humidity value is set at 50%. So let's bring it down again. Okay, press enter, flashes, bring it down, sorry, bring it down to back to 45 default. Okay, and we'll press enter to save that value, and that's it. So that's parameter 3, the desired humidity level. Parameter number 4 is the indoor temperature heating off limit. So if the return sensor sees a temperature of 85, even though there may be a call for heating, it's going to automatically say, listen, I'm already 85 degrees, I don't need to heat anymore. I'm going to assume this is a thermostat error, and I'm going to turn the heating off. Now, you can set that from 74 to 90, or in Celsius from 23 to 32. We've default set it at 85, but that's what this sensor is doing. So it's basically looking at the return air temperature and looking for perhaps a fault in your thermostat, but it will cut the temperature, cut the heating off if the return air temperature is above 85. On parameter 5, we do the same thing, but on the cooling side. So we say, hey, if there's a call for cooling, but the return air temperature is at or below this setting, we will assume we don't need any more cooling, and we will automatically turn the compressor off. So the default is 65. You see we've already played with the adjustment on this, so let's move this back up to our default. So we're going to press enter, right? Then the parameter value will blink, indicating that we're able to set it. We're going to increase this to 65, which is our default. We're going to save it at that value, and that's it. So that's the indoor cooling off limit parameter. Number 6. Parameter number 6 is the pump exercise frequency. So automatically, to make sure that your system, because it's all one loop in your potable system, to make sure the water is always moving, always safe, we default to once every 24 hours, whether there's a call for heating or not. We're going to circulate the pump, and it's going to run the water that's in the coil through your plumbing circuit. Now, if your code requires more frequency, for example, Massachusetts in particular requires once every 12 hours for that water to be circulated. So we can change this. So this is default once every 24 hours, but let's change that to, let's say, Massachusetts. So we press enter. Now we can change that parameter value as it's blinking. We reduce it to, let's say, 12, and we set. So now what this will do is every 12 hours, the unit will automatically call on the pump to circulate the water through the system. So again, this is fully programmable. You can have it as often as you want. You can have it circulate every 8 hours, every 6 hours, every 24 hours. We use 24 as the default, and let's set this back to 24 now. Press enter, and then because the parameter is flashing, we can bring it up to 24, and then we will set, and that's it. So again, we use a 24-hour sequence because that is what's required in the hydronics installation code, CSA B214. Parameter number 7. Parameter number 7 is the pump exercise. So we saw that we will bring on the pump once every 24 hours at a default, at a minimum. Now it's in parameter 7, we tell it how long we want it to run for. And why do we need to change this? Well, it depends on the length of the piping between the iFLOW and the heat source. If it's, if your iFLOW is in the basement and your water heater is on the second or third floor, or vice versa, your air handler is in the attic and your water heater is on the main floor, there could be 20 or 30 feet of pipe in between them. So we want to be able to extend that time. So you can run it from 30 seconds at the minimum right up to 5 minutes in terms of duration of the exercise time. So depending on the distance. So again, you're free to adjust that as you like. For parameter 8 and 9, when we're wanting to exercise the function, exercise the pump, we don't want to necessarily bring on the burner of the tankless water heater, for example. So we can set a pulse flow. So the pulse flow, basically we turn the pump on, we push water through the circuit, but not enough water and for a short enough duration not to bring on the burner. So we set that here, and this will all have to be done on site depending on the water heater that you have, to make sure that you're not bringing on the burner, but then having the pump flow that is, or setting the pulse rate so that you're actually moving the water. So that's 8 and 9, and they work together. So parameter 8 will give us the length of time we run the pump, and it's default set to 1 second. So it's going to pump on for 1 second to move the water, and then it's going to stop. And how long is it going to stop for? Well, it depends on what you have set for parameter 9. So it'll pulse for 1 second, off for 3 seconds, pulse for 1 second, off for 3 seconds. And it will do that to set a pulse curve so that it's not going to bring on your tankless. When you have the iFLOW Navien communication cable, for example, you do not need that. That's all built into that circuit. This would be if you're using, let's say, a non-Navien unit without communication. Okay, parameter number 10. Parameter number 10 is a heat boost. So basically this function would be used mostly when coming off of setback. So if you program your thermostat to drop temperature, let's say at night or during the day if you're not home, you set it back, but then when it comes on in the morning, you want it to heat up again, obviously quickly. So this is our heat boost function. So what it does here is you can set the time by which you want to wait. So you have a call for heat, it comes on. If the room temperature does not rise more than 2 degrees Fahrenheit during this period, then we will automatically go to maximum and we will boost the output of the unit until the thermostat is satisfied. So right now parameter 10 is defaulted to 30 minutes. So what this means is when there's a call for heat, the iFLOW will come on and we'll start delivering heat into the home. If, judging by the return air's temperature sensor, if it has not increased the return air temperature by 2 degrees in 30 minutes, it's automatically going to go into boost mode, which will bring it up to maximum, and then we'll run maximum until the heating, the thermostat is satisfied, and then it will go back to normal operation. Now, if you want it to come on sooner than that, you can do that. So again, enter. We can bring this down to 15 minutes if you want. If you want to say, hey, when I'm coming off setback, the heater come on, I want 15 minutes. If it hasn't raised 2 degrees in 15 minutes, then I want it to go into maximum and heat it up as quickly as possible. And once it's satisfied, then it will go to boost mode automatically and go back to regular operation. So again, more for coming off setback, and again, fully flexible in terms of what you set it for. So let's go back to our default, and we'll just go back to our default setting. So that's what parameter 10 is. Parameter 11 is the blower circulation speed when we have a call for continuous fan. So if you put your fan on auto on and you're running it continuously, we're going to get a call on the G for the fan, and we're going to bring it on at this value, 10%. Now, you can adjust this to whatever you want. You can adjust it lower if you want, or you can adjust it higher, depending on the volume of air that you want to move through the house. So again, we've defaulted it at 10%, thinking that, okay, if you want it running continuously, you're not necessarily needing a lot of air, but you just want to move it. The advantage of that, every time you move it, you're running it through the filter, so it's kind of filtering the air continuously. It's moving the air, so you're minimizing the stratification that can occur on a single zone system. So there's some advantages of running it. And again, you can run it as low or as high as you like, whatever you're most comfortable with. So that's parameter number 11. Oh, sorry. So we haven't set here. So again, 10%, press enter. When this parameter is flashing, you know that it's in settable mode. So we want to get out of that. We want to save it at 10%. So now that value has been set back to default. So number 12. Number 12 is an important setting. This is related to our reset curve. So we have an outdoor sensor, as I mentioned to you on this unit. We're using a potentiometer to simulate that, but what we're saying here on parameter number 12 is enter the coldest outdoor temperature which you expect to need maximum BTUs. So if it's new construction, you'll have a detailed plan as to what your design outdoor temperature is that you would need your maximum heating BTUs at. So you would enter that here. So let's say if we're talking winter temperatures, let's say default, again we're in Fahrenheit here, so 5 degrees Fahrenheit, which is minus 15 Celsius. That is our default. When the outdoor sensor sees this temperature or below, it is going to run the unit at maximum. It's going to assume that I need maximum BTUs given the temperature, given the cold temperature outside. Now, if you're not in as cold a temperature, let's say you're in Florida or you're in California, where you don't need that temperature, you can actually adjust it. You can adjust it anywhere from minus 18 to 0 Celsius, or on the Fahrenheit scale from 0 to 32. Excuse me. So you can set it to whatever you like if 5 is not representative of your area, but this is what it's doing. So it's setting the upper end of the curve. It's setting the temperature at which you will need maximum BTUs. parameter number 8, or parameter number 13, is setting the heat source's minimum input. So this minimum input will vary depending on the heat source. So what you want to do is look at the minimum input. If you're using a tankless water heater, it's probably somewhere around 15 or 20,000 BTUs. Some of the newer units can be 10 to 20,000 BTUs. If you're using a boiler that has a very low minimum input, it could be 8,000 BTUs, 10,000 BTUs without problem. Our default is 20,000 because we're going to be assuming a tankless water heater. So let's change this to 20. So again, press the enter button. Parameter value will start to blink. I'm going to set this up to 20,000 BTUs. So now what we're saying here is that our heat source's minimum input is 20,000 BTUs. Press it to save, and that's it. This is going to indicate to the iFLOW what the minimum input is, and we'll try to make sure we minimize the cycling as best we can, knowing that information. So let's go on to parameter 14. Parameter 14 is the building's total heat loss. So this is where we enter the heat loss of the home so that we can adjust the reset slope so the air handler can properly target the BTUs that it's delivering into the home based on the outdoor temperature sensor. So depending on the model, as you know, we have 14,000, 16,000, 18,000 series that all can deliver different BTUs. So depending on the model you have, this is going to vary. The range will also vary. But just to say, let's go into it, try to adjust. So we'll adjust that parameter and we'll go down, we'll bring it all the way down. So even on the largest unit, even on our 18,000 series, we can take it from 95 or 99,000 BTUs and bring it right down to 15. So what does that do, and what does that help us with? Well, let's look at it pictorially. So here we have our 18,000 series unit. Again, we can deliver 99,000 BTUs. So we look at what temperature do we need 95,000 BTUs, and here we've set it to 5 degrees Fahrenheit or minus 15 Celsius. So at any point, at any temperature below that, you'll be running at or below that, you'll be running at maximum 95,000 BTUs being the target delivery. On the other end of the slope, we have basically where you don't need any heating. So we have arbitrarily set that in all the units at 70 degrees. So if the temperature, outdoor temperature is 70 degrees or above, we assume you don't need any heating. So when we set those 2 points, it sets a line or a slope between those 2 points such that at any time during the season, depending on what the outdoor temperature is, it will automatically compensate and adjust the BTUs. Now, with parameter 14, we can adjust that maximum level and we can bring it up or bring it down. So here, in this example, I'm saying, okay, let's say we're using the 18,000 unit because we like the zoning. We need a 3-zone system, but our heat load is not 95,000, it's only 50,000. So in here I would go and enter, I would go up to 50,000 BTUs and say, okay, 50,000 BTUs is my demand, maximum heat load. So then I press enter to save that. So now my total heat loss is set at 50,000 BTUs. And what that does is, even though I might have the 18-inch or 18,000 series that does 95, I've told the unit I don't need 95, I only need 50. So it actually drops the curve, and what that does is at any point in the curve, now you'll see that, let me just expand this up for you a little. We can look at it. So that at any point on the curve, now I'm going to be delivering lower BTUs because my total maximum load is now set lower. So there's no potential for oversizing or undersizing the iFLOW. We can basically tailor it to deliver exactly the BTUs we need in that house based on the demand and the outdoor temperatures. So we set this slope up and deliver. So for example, now that we have the lower slope, if the outdoor temperature is 30 Fahrenheit or -1 degree Celsius, we would be targeting, with the higher slope, without adjusting the reset, we would be delivering about 57,500. But now with the readjusted curve and telling the unit that our maximum BTUs is 50,000 BTUs, now at that same target we'll be delivering out 27,500. So this is how to adjust that, and this is what parameter 14 does on the controller. So it allows us to set the heat load. Parameter number 15 is the number of zones. So if you have a base model or a Wi-Fi model without any zoning, you will not even see this. You will not have these parameters available for you to set. Once you go into the zoning models, so the D models or the Q models, then automatically it will come up. The 2 zone, which this is, the 2 zone will automatically default to 2, and the quad zone will automatically default to 4. And then you can adjust in there if you want. If you're using the Q and you only have 3 zones, then you can go in and adjust that accordingly. 16, parameter 16 we don't use, so as you see it just jumped over. So now we have 17. So zone mix function. So when we have multiple zones, we have the ability to mix the zones. So for example, if we see some stratification in the house, a temperature difference between the upstairs and the basement, for example, well, we can actually tell the unit, hey, I want to mix the temperatures. I want to mix those zones up to equalize, so that I don't necessarily have to run my AC unit to cool the top floor when I have cooler air in the basement that I could use. So it's like an energy saving function. But what we do is we just mix the zones, and once the temperatures are equalized, then we compare the equalized temperature to the actual set point, and then decide if we need to bring the heating or cooling on. So we're going to eliminate the stratification. We're going to look at the average temperature and then decide, do we need heating or cooling at that time. So 17 is to set the mixing on or off, and then 18 goes part and parcel with that. Oh, because we've set it off, we don't have the difference. So let's set it on. So actually there's a good point. So you see we went from 17 and then I went up to 19, and it didn't give me the option of 18, even though in our manual we have an 18. Well, that's because I have this set to off, and because it's off, then I don't need parameter 18, which is the zone air mix temperature differential. So let's set number 17 to on. Again, press the enter to change the parameter. So then we're going to go up to 1. We're going to press enter to save that parameter. And now 18 shows up. So again, because we've initialized 17, now 18 comes up. Now what is 18? 18 is the zone air mix temperature differential. So once we've mixed the air temperature, or once we've mixed the zones, the air in the different zones, and it's equalized, which is parameter 17, then we say, okay, now that we've averaged the temperatures out, how close is it from set point? So our default is 3 degrees Fahrenheit from set point, which is about 2 degrees Celsius, a little less than 2 degrees Celsius. If you want to tighten that up, well, we can do that. We can go, right, and then we can bring it down to 2 or 1. And what this means is we will average the air temperatures, we'll look at those temperatures, and then decide if it's within, right, if it's within this differential, we won't start the heating or cooling. We'll just average the air temperatures and we'll say, okay, we're close enough, we're not going to bother running the heating or the cooling. If we're outside of that range, so right now we're 3 degrees, so let's say we're 5-degree differential from set point, then we would say, okay, that's a little bit too far from the set point, so we'll bring on the heating or the cooling, whichever it is, whichever season we're in, to bring the room back up into temperature. So that's what 18 is. That's the differential. And let's go into 19. So we're looking at still setting this. So we're going to set this back to 3, which is our default, and then we're going to go up to 19. So damper opening duration. So this damper opening duration is related to a zoning system where we have dampers in the ducting, and we want to ensure that when there's a call for heating or cooling and the duct, and we need to deliver air into the duct, that the dampers are in fact open and not closed, so we're not blowing against a closed damper. To do that, we need to know how long it takes for the damper to go from fully open to fully closed and fully closed to fully open. So what is the opening time? The iFLOW dampers that we supply have a default of 7 seconds. So it takes only 7 seconds to open up fully. And as a result, the default is 7 seconds. If you have another damper, if you're using another damper manufacturer with the iFLOW, their duration opening might be and will likely be much longer than that. It could be 30 seconds, it could be 40 seconds, it could be 45. Please select a damper that has an opening time of less than 60 seconds because that is our limit on the parameter. And what this does again is just ensures that we're allowing the damper enough time to open fully, and we're not pushing the air against a somewhat closed damper or somewhat not fully open damper. So that's what parameter 19 is. Parameter 20 is smart mode. Smart mode, so there are 2 ways to run your system using the iFLOW. We can run it with smart mode, or we can run it in thermostat mode. Thermostat mode means that we rely on the thermostat to send the signal to come on or off. Once we get the signal to come on or off, then the iFLOW will modulate accordingly and deliver the temperatures as needed. But we rely on the thermostat to give us the on-off signal. So in that case, you would set your desired temperature on your thermostat. You would set all of your setback on your thermostat. You would not do that on the iFLOW or on the iFLOW app. That's thermostat mode. Smart mode, we use the iFLOW app, right? So this is a Wi-Fi model. All the zoning models are automatically Wi-Fi. So we use the Wi-Fi app, or we use the Wi-Fi app to set your temperature on the app, to set all your setback on the app, and then we run in smart mode. And what smart mode does, it actually bypasses thermostat mode, and it uses our internal sensors, so our return air sensor, our supply air sensor if it's a single zone. If it's a zoning system, then we have sensors in each of our dampers that will actually look at the supply and return air temperatures from each zone. And with that, we can then run in smart mode. And smart mode will automatically circulate the air through the entire system continuously, and continuously at whatever rate you've selected. That could be at 5% or 10%, but just running continuously so that we can continuously see the return air temperature and then decide if we need to come on to add heating or cooling. So it really is replicating what your thermostat's doing, but all in real time as we move air continuously across and through the iFLOW. So we get a very accurate reading of the return air temperature and then decide exactly how much heat to deliver in. So this is smart mode. So the default is off. So the default for the iFLOW is in thermostat mode, which we expect will be the normal operation. But if you do want to run in smart mode, then you can use the app, and when you connect to the app and you connect smart mode, your app will automatically change this value. But if you want to do it on the controller, you can do that as well. So we can go in, enter, begins to flash, go up now, and then press enter again. So now we are in smart mode. So now it's looking for communication, but I don't actually have the iFLOW module hooked up to this unit yet, but it's automatically going to start the flow because it knows it's in smart mode. So it automatically starts the blower motor, and it will draw that air through. The default for this is 10%, but it's going to look to the setting that you've set for continuous circulation at parameter 11 to follow what you've set. So again, it just runs the unit continuously in that mode to sense the return air temperature and then decide. So that is smart mode. So let's go back in. We're going to drop this down out of smart mode, press enter to save, and smart mode goes off. Okay. Wi-Fi mode. Okay, parameter 21. There are two ways to connect to the unit. Using your app. Well, first you need a Wi-Fi model. So our base models do not come with the Wi-Fi module, and they don't actually come with the connection to be able to upgrade it. So if you've bought the base model, you cannot upgrade to a Wi-Fi model because it doesn't have the connector to actually connect into. But for the Wi-Fi model and for all of our zoning models, you are Wi-Fi enabled. Once we do that, we can decide how we connect to the app. Do we want to connect to the app by pairing? And this would be very similar to pairing with your car radio, for example, where when your phone gets in, or when your phone is close to the radio, it will automatically pair. This is not quite the same. It will pair. You scan the label on either side, and then you will it'll automatically start to pair with your phone. As soon as you go more than 100 feet from the unit, the pairing will stop, and then to repair, you will actually have to rescan the side. So so the pairing mode is not automatic pairing. You need to scan each time you want to pair to it. The alternate is hooking it up to your internet. So just like you would connect your smart thermostat to your home network, like you would connect your printer to your home network, like you would connect your computers to your home network, you will need to connect your iFLOW to your home network, which means entering your home network SSID and your home network password. Once you do that, you will connect directly to the unit, and you will be able to control the unit using your app and programming it through your app. So all to say, that's what parameter 21 is. It is the Wi-Fi mode selection, and you're selecting either pairing mode or internet mode. Now, one more thing with pairing. If we're in pairing mode, you know that you're not connected to the internet. So once you leave the range, once you're more than 100 feet away from the unit, it will disconnect, and you'll not be able to remotely access and monitor your unit. You can only remotely monitor it using internet connection. So, 22, emergency mode. So what is emergency mode? Well, if there's a situation where for whatever reason your thermostat may be broken, the batteries are out, for who knows what the condition could be, but you need heat. You definitely need heat, or you need cooling. You can actually go into the iFLOW and in emergency mode override the thermostat and tell the unit to come on. So in emergency mode is by default off, of course. Sorry. If we want heating, we can go to 1. If we want cooling, we go to 2. So again, to program that, just press 0, so it automatically, so it will start to blink, knowing that we can program it. Go to 1, press enter, and then that will automatically go into emergency heating mode and we'll look for the heat source. Right. So let's go and we'll switch this out back to default. Okay. Parameter 23, we get into scheduling. So do we want to schedule it using the controller or not? If we want to, so default is off, which means we'll probably use the app. But if we do want to use the controller, we can go into and set that to 1. And then parameter 24, we can set the day of the week. And we can set the time on parameter 25. So those are the parameters for mode 3 general. And again, to get out of that mode, just press the mode button and we are done.